Greetings and welcome to Press Hour on CRTV. Cameroon's Prime Minister Joseph John Goute was in the southwest region this week. He urged the populations of the northwest and southwest regions to contribute to the restoration of definite peace. This call came as the minister delegate at the presidency in charge of defense, Joseph Beti Asomo, was in the northwest region, ordering for an immediate change of military tactics to crush separatist fighters who are getting increasingly sophisticated with their weaponry supplies. Between peace and war, we are finding out where the northwest and southwest regions both find themselves 2 years after the major national dialogue. We are also asking how the dialogue has helped to stop the crisis. And have you heard of royal beggars? Some funds are said to have descended from royalty to commoners. How is this adulteration of traditions affecting Cameroon's northwest and southwest regions? Why and how is Cameroon getting to this level? And so we have with us His Royal Highness Mbayang Sik III of Guzang. Welcome to the program, Your Majesty.
Thank you, Edwin, for having me here today.
By the royal And of course, Reverend Father Humphrey Tatambui, who is of the Roman Catholic Church, who is also an author, has written so many books. Reverend, welcome to the program.
The pleasure is always mine.
To set the ball rolling, let's have Emmanuel Avemnui with what the newspapers reported during the week.
The crisis in the northwest-southwest regions floored newspaper columns the week ending. Prime Minister is in Buea with a message of peace in Cameroon Tribune. The Star highlights that the PM has been dispatched to Buea by President Biya. Then PM leaves door open for dialogue in the Sun. And the strides and challenges of the northwest-southwest reconstruction are x-rayed in the Eden to a southwest population that defied lockdown to give PM John Goute a hero's welcome in the Guardian Post. As PM tells the population it is time to rethink and rebuild in municipal updates, the Horizon says there is no turning back in the reconstruction plan as the government goes in search of 78.6 billion francs to reconstruct northwest and southwest in the Post. The implementation municipal update says gets fresh touch as PM John Goute charms population of Southwest in the median. Happening at the time there is indignation as 15 soldiers are killed in Goketunja in the Guardian Post. Bamising Butch Reader calls out to Yaoundé in the median. A call heeded by Defense Minister who announces adjustments in Cameroon Tribune, then hints of new strategies against Amba. The Voice Weekender sees PM to Buea with carrot, while Defense Minister to Bamenda with stick, especially as military vows to crush General No Pity Gang in depth news, making the Horizon to question if this move is dialogue or upping the ante, thereby throwing the population in uncertainty in Newswatch. The Herald Tribune is, however, worried about the provocative silence of foreign bodies in the face of this crisis, when 50% of Anglophone crisis IDPs risk sexual violence and trafficking, according to a report in the Guardian Post. Territorial Administration Minister then rallies the North region to push back organized crime in Cameroon Insider. At the time, CDC workers announced for 4-day strike action in the median. Etofis wants Feka Food presidency without salary in the Post-Weekender. And no protest declares for the Southwest Feka Food top job in the Guardian Post. Njala Kwan Jr. then makes his intention for Southwest Feka Food in the Eden newspaper, just when Cameroon is African champions in female volleyball as Lionesses receive congratulations from President Paul Biya in Cameroon Tribune. At the time, pastor in Yaoundé uses football to preach the gospel in Newswatch. Then Conac's 2020 report indicates that Cameroon lost 17 billion CFA francs to corruption last year. The disappearance of the FONS of Nkambe also formed stories reported by the papers this week. Let's now end our press review with this story on Cameroon Insider, where legal battles rock season 2 of Biggie 237. The wranglings among the managers of the TV reality show are said to have left the public confused as to the official house entry party. This after the court in Boya issued an injunction on September 17 following a petition filed by one Cyril Akonte, manager of the first edition of the event. Until I come your way again, this is your Hour with the Press.
Thanks, Emanuela. Now, Richard, you just followed what newsmen reported during the week. Are there certain things that are topical you've listened to?
Yes, Moki, I think 3 things caught my attention within the week. The first is the killing of 15 soldiers in Ngoketunga Division, precisely in Bamising. That incident has made a lot of news within the week. And what is so saddened about it is that the foreign bodies are always quick to condemn when the military, in the course of their carrying out their duties, will be attack an area, they'll quickly come out to condemn. But it's unfortunate that they have remained so silent. I mean, that's why in the RTV we said the silence is so provocative, because they have not come out to react, to actually condemn the activities of the separatists, when they use anti-rocket missiles against the soldiers, and especially within an area that is supposed to be inhabited by civilians. I think when you do that, so many casualties you're going to cause so many casualties. You have civilian deaths. And the second thing that also caught my attention in the news is the Prime Minister's visit to the Southwest region to evaluate, some of the recommendations of the Major National Dialogue 2 years after. And I'm happy that the Prime Minister's visit, from what I watched and I've read in the papers, was quite a great success, as the turnout and the avalanche of people who came out, the discussions that went through this meeting of the Prime Minister. I think it caught my attention in the news. And lastly, we are also looking at the football, where also in the news this week has been that Samuel Eto'o has declared his intentions to run for the FA top job in Cameroon. And it is a wait and see, as there's still a lot of debates going on and on whether Eto'o is he has a dual nationality. But we think that we are looking at football laws. We are not looking at the laws of Cameroon. We are looking at FIFA laws. What does FIFA law say when it comes to somebody participating in the top job of any FA association?
We're not commenting on that, but do they override national laws? Just a question to ponder. Now, but you also followed the newspaper review, and certainly certain things attract your attention.
Yeah, certainly. I had four issues touch my mind. I will start by the demise of our legendary FON, the disappearance of our FON of Nkambe. For those of you who know him, it's an epitome of every good thing on earth. And I say we've lost somebody in the fandom. And I share the grief of the Nkambe people. Say, the king is gone, long live the king. Secondly, I want to talk about the gruesome killings in Bamising. Again, coming at a time when we thought things were gradually returning to normalcy. And it beats my imagination why these killings continue and why we fold our arms and see things happen in front of us. I think it's high time we come and look at things squarely in the face and put things right. Thirdly, I could see the Prime Minister, Chief Dr. Diongute, in the Southwest. What really attracted me was his message of peace and the turnout, despite the call for boycott, they turned out massively. I was gearing up to see a continuous follow-up in the Northwest region where we have similar difficulties. But at the same time, in the Northwest region, the Minister of Defense was there asking of energizing the military to get out and commit more atrocities. As a father that I am, I think you cannot call a child for dialogue and hold a whip in your back and expect that.
But with your permission, the minister did not say the military should come out and commit more atrocities. He said the military should re-strategize.
Re-strategize in what dimension? And if you follow on social media, you saw the heavy artillery that were being moved to the Northwest. I can't imagine at this time whether it is positive or it is negative. I think it is time for us to re-strategize. It is time for government to re-strategize. You cannot be saying one thing this way and saying the other thing the other way. It doesn't help us. And lastly, for football, we all know what the trophies has done for this country. And we clamor. During the national dialogue, one of the recommendations, or what people clamored for, was the idea of dual nationality. We have a lot of talents in this country, out of the country, and they perform. I don't see a reason why they are going to be stifled from performing to help us in our country. You have the GPS. It's a Cameroonian behind it. It's a Cameroonian behind it. All those wasted qualities, why do we leave them out at this time that we need them?
Thank you, Mbe.
Thank you.
I got you. Priscilla?
Well, when I listened to the news review, the headlines of the newspapers this week, they were actually dominated by the Prime Minister's visit to the Southwest region, to be able to clamor for peace to return, to dialogue again with the people, because he has been there before, and he has gone back there as head of the committee, which was in charge of implementing and following up the resolutions that were taken in 2019. That's during the major national dialogue. And well, we see the population's reaction, which is to tell you that they really want something good to come out of this. If it means sitting down again for a second major national dialogue, to be able to review that which did not go right during the first. Now the Prime Minister's visit is actually of interest to me, because all we want is that things should return to normalcy, because we are getting to the 5th year of the crisis. 5 years duration when a child is born and that child has to go to primary school. So it is long time enough, and it is ruining a lot of things. Secondly, I will leave sports, I will leave other things. I will talk about culture, talking about the film industry, the reality show that Cameroon, we must develop our economy. We must develop in different aspects of it. The Biggie 237, which made its debut last year, and which we are expecting it to enter into with more impetus this year, so as to be able to, bring the showbiz business alive in Cameroon, because those are some of the things that will help reduce the stress that people are going through. Well, if it is in court or they are following legal measures, we just hope that they resolve it so that entertainment industry can grow in Cameroon. That's another sector where many young people are entering into, and they need to earn their daily bread, and they need to make entertainment one of those sectors that will boost the economy of Cameroon. The third, let me not skip this out, the visit of the Minister of Defense in the Northwest region. When we talk with family, relatives who are back home, everybody is under locks because they are indoors. They fear for the unknown because of what is actually building up. Because it's a kind of a conflict that is mixing up the military, the separatist fighters, and the civilians. And so you don't know when, whose stray bullet will meet you. And so the population is actually in a state of fear. Let me put it that way.
Thank you. Reverend.
Well,
Your own 1 minute, Reverend.
I think I take off from what Priscilla has ended is when we have a serious problem, it is very disturbing to use certain words. And words are very important in conflict situations. When you are trying to handle a conflict, there are certain words you avoid. That's why we talk of hate speech should be avoided. When we call what's happening in the Northwest and Southwest a crisis, it gives the impression we are minimizing what is actually happening. I am not sure that if anybody has stayed there and followed what is happening, he will call it a crisis. At best, it is an armed conflict. We are not to call it a war. And that will make and put the thing on the right platform and tell us how we should handle it. Secondly, when we start judging either the army or the non-state armed operators and call them names, we are definitely making them more and more estranged from what we really want. I think, in the words of the Prime Minister, we are looking for definite peace.
Thank you. Let's now go to the first topic, and I'm starting with you, Reverend, since you're the one who ended. The first question we're asking is if this major national dialogue, 2 years down the line, has helped to solve what I call the crisis and what you call the arms conflict or the war in the northwest and southwest regions.
Moki, let's have our words correct. We cannot call this a crisis. You and I are not for semantics.
Let's just go ahead now.
Let's not get into semantics. But the armed conflict, if it is, according to the words of the Minister of Defense, now put on a higher platform because of what the non-state holders of arms are doing, it definitely tells you and I that the question you're asking becomes rhetorical. It hasn't helped. The Grand National Dialogue has not been able to bring definite peace to the thing. So our problem should now not be, has it helped? It should be, why did it not help, and how can we move forward?
Let's not speak as if nothing has happened since the dialogue.
I have not said that.
So let's go ahead.
In a world where we live, every enterprise looks now at result. It is expected results. When you go into any endeavor, you put your objective and your expected results. When you don't get your expected result, it means your enterprise has not succeeded in what it set out to do. And therefore, you look for different strategies.
Now, you, Priscilla, you followed the major national dialogue. You got the recommendations that were made for peace to return. A lot of them were made. Let's first of all look at what was made a resolution before looking at why it's not helping to solve the crisis.
Well, Moki, for 5 days, the delegates, over 600 of them, met at the Yaoundé Conference Center to be able to deliberate, to look at the root cause of the conflict. I'll keep saying it's conflict for the moment, though it is really getting serious. Now they came up with 8 recommendations, which were supposed to be implemented and followed up by a committee which was set up by the head of state in March 2020. That committee is being headed by the Prime Minister, and they're supposed to meet every 6 months so as to be able to, to see what is working and what is not working. Now, amongst them, they were supposed to grant a special status for the Northwest and Southwest regions. That's creating the House of Chiefs and the regional councils. The House of Chiefs for the Northwest and Southwest, and the regional councils for the rest. Yes, regional assembly, and for the rest of the country. It has been put in place. The representatives have been voted. I don't know how far it has gone to solve this problem, reduce the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest region. That's the first. The second is to take specific measures to ensure that there is quality English and French in every other state issue, that is, give the 2 official languages, because it's one of the things that, people from the Northwest and Southwest regions were decrying, that the English language was being neglected in official documents. The people themselves were not given the rightful position that they merit. And so during that dialogue, the major national dialogue, that was one of the recommendations. And so a commission was created to be able to put things right. That is, to help multiculturalism and bilingualism step up a bit and give every group that exists in Cameroon its rightful place and give the languages equal opportunities and equal status. Well, some of the lapses are still there, but I don't know if it has helped to solve the crisis. We are still to see that. And then talk about improving infrastructure when it comes to judicial services. That's one of the things. Remember the strike was ignited by lawyers and teachers. Lawyers were complaining of, the place that the common law was being given in the legal situation in Cameroon. Now, let's say that the government has done something by opening the common law training section in the National School of Administration and Magistracy, INAM. Well, they are being trained. I think the first batch was expected to graduate some years back. I don't know what they are doing on the field, if it has improved on that, and if they are gearing towards resolving this crisis. That's one of the recommendations that were made. There are 8 of them. Maybe I'll come back to some.
Say some of them now.
Excuse me, Moki, just before you get to the other person. Are we talking here of recommendations or resolutions? Because you don't implement a recommendation. If it is a recommendation...
No, there were some of those issues that had to go through the assembly, the head of state, to have the enabling decree, so they could not call it resolution.
So if there are recommendations, I beg to differ with our language of hoping to implement a recommendation. When I recommend to the head of state, it is completely within his powers to decide when to bring them into resolutions that should be implemented.
Just to add, all of the recommendations became resolutions, but the head of state applied them.
Have they? No.
Have we
a text that tells us now that they are all resolutions?
Can you give us one that has not been applied?
No, I'm asking the question.
Well, when I cited the
are
three,
they have become resolutions?
They have become resolutions because they are being implemented. Yes. Now, I was coming to you. One of the issues that happened immediately after was the freedom that was given more than 300 people suspected to have been taking part in this armed conflict. Then my question to you, Richard Najong, why, in spite of all of these things that we have enumerated, many more, why is there no peace returning to that part of the country, to those parts of the country?
So I asked the question, were there only the 300s that were imprisoned because of the crisis? The answer is simply no, because we still have quite a good number of them in various prisons. And the people have been crying that these people should be released, whether they are the recognized leaders of the struggle or not, but they are saying that they should be released so that peace should return. But Muki, if we look at the recommendations that were made and what has been done and what has not been done, we realize that most of what has been done are still cosmic resolutions or implementations. The real things have not been done. You know, if you want to empower somebody,
just
give a few examples.
Give
that person financial autonomy. When you give the person financial autonomy, then you have strengthened that person. Look at the case of the regional assemblies. In June, when they met, what was their budget? They voted a budget of 2-point-something billion, 3 billion. What can that amount do to a region that is supposed to construct roads, that is supposed to build classrooms, that is supposed to build hospitals? What can 3 billion do?
It's part of a global state budget, and the central budget is still...
The 15 billion of the state budget was supposed to be included to the regional councils. Was that done? It has not been done. If you look at the recommendation, this is ongoing. What is supposed to be done, they say it is still ongoing. The key things have not been realized, Muki. If you look at it, the key things have not been touched. They still say they are ongoing. And those that they know that they can easily do, they say complete, that have already done it. Appointing or creating a Minister of Decentralization, well, it's done. But there are other things. The councils, they are still crying as we speak, Moki. The councils, the various councils are not yet autonomous. We still have the senior divisional officers trying to lord over these elected officials who often take their projects for the SGO to approve before anything is done. And that is stifling development. So we think that these councils have not yet had that full autonomy. The regional councils are there. They are still, struggling. And how, if they have given the autonomy, how is it that computers are bought from Yaoundé and sent to the regions? Why can't they give these councils the autonomy to buy what they need? Everything is still being done from Yaoundé and Sena. So I think so much what people need have not yet been done.
We'll get what has to be done.
I still insist on the fact that those who are in prison, there's thousands of them still in various prisons because of this crisis. Let them be released. The 300 that were released after the Major National Dialogue, that was just a tip of the...
Are you aware that some of them went and were still caught in armed conflict and brought back to the same prison?
Whether they were brought back or not, Moki, those who are there, whom these guys, whom our brothers and sisters say are their leaders, let them be given the opportunity to have freedom and move and talk to these guys, and we'll see whether there will be no change.
Your Royal Highness.
Moki, I'm happy that we are here on CRTV, and it's termed the heart of the nation. I will start by asking, what triggered the convening of the Grand Major National Dialogue? Once we know that,
The
crisis in the Northwest and in the Southwest region, what were the objectives set out to ensure that schools return, that people go around their businesses well, that they stop killings, and let people return back to their villages after the Grand National Dialogue? Where are we today? Are we seeing it? Is it visible? I will not be a prophet of doom. I said there were some limping strides towards normalcy. If I take the educational sector where I belong, I think there has been a movement for people to go back to school. But if you look at it critically, most of the schools in the periphery, they are not operational. Most of the schools in the periphery are not operational. They call them our boys. They call them our children. They've taken over. Why? Ghost Town is still very, very powerful. For the past 1.5 months, you could not go to PATYCHOU. That's a distance, just about 40 kilometers. We used to pay 1,000. People pay 10,000 until they start calling the other side roads Mexico. And you can see, on bikes. Do we say we have succeeded? No. I think the question here is, why are we not succeeding? In Anglo-Saxon style, we say, a stitch in time saves 9. We missed that point. We say we stoop to conquer. We missed that point. Now we're at the level where we say it is the fear of disgrace that makes a man to eat poison. On both sides. But again, he who has the upper hand is the person who is in authority. We have to re-strategize. Just as the military is trying to re-strategize, I think we should put positive strategies now to bring back everybody on the dialogue table. Cameroon is our country. And thank God Father is here. One for the good shepherd, one sheep went astray. They abandoned the 99 to go look for the other one. And with us, as I say, you don't beat a child and throw the child out. You beat a child and put the child under the bed. You don't beat a child and throw the child with the dirty water. There is still chance for us. We know that what is happening. Our sons and daughters, the drummer boys are out there in the diaspora. They are an integral part of all of this. If you follow what social media says, you will see what I'm talking about.
Thank you.
And if you want to do it and keep them out of the show, I don't think we're going to.
I hope I'm not saying as if nothing really happens, because we've got some points and we've heard the release of the people out there, the projects of the bilingualism and multiculturalism and the rest that were done, and the involvement of English speakers in the making. Now, let us go ahead and talk about
Moki, please. This is the heart of the nation, and let's take the things the way they are if we want to fix them.
Yeah.
Let's be sincere.
Yeah.
Let's be sincere. I have said things have happened. Do we have any problem about bilingualism? Moi, je parle bien français. You go to the market, you even jambox it with pigeon, they will understand. We live by that.
Now, what?
So much so that the issue there is the Franconization of the Anglophone. That is the crux of the matter. And until we take it from that angle, I don't think we're going to make progress.
Let us now go ahead, Reverend. No. Let's look at what should be done. We have a second topic.
No, I'm trying to see why we are not succeeding. Because if we start going to what should be done, we will have a problem.
We will not have time.
I will combine the two.
Combine the two.
Yes. Why are we not succeeding? I think the first thing is, I earlier said, words are very important. What is a dialogue? A dialogue is especially listening to the other, especially the aggrieved party. Was the aggrieved party listened to? The answer is blowing in the air. truth. Until we find people who can defy everything and speak the truth as it is. It doesn't spare us how often we lie. A lie does not change the truth into a lie. So we must be ready to face the truth, and the truth will set us free. We must be ready to face it. You can't have truth, especially if you don't have justice. Justice means give me what I deserve.
What is that truth you're talking about?
The truth is, what is the truth about us, about this conflict? What is it? What is the real problem? Most of people let it end. Was what we discussed followed up? The people who are concerned know that it was not. Secondly, let us come to, you want to dialogue with somebody. You look for the person who's causing the real problem. Don't tell me you don't know them, because you know them. Definitely. Otherwise, you are not fighting a phantom. We are the people who are aggrieved. Listen to. Thirdly, if the truth must be spoken, how did we get to where we are in this? The whole problem underlining is the identity of a people that is here in jeopardy. Some people talk of the Anglophones, which I hate, people of Southern Cameroon, as if it was a tribe. No, they are a people who had an identity, and we make the further effort mistake of thinking, or the Northwest and Southwest have problems, also has the North and the East, etc. No. The Northwest and Southwest Moki were a people who had a special identity. It's the only thing, except I've read wrongly, the only time that the United Nations has let a trusteeship territory go in such a horrible manner as did. So they have even a fault to answer to us. Why did they let us go this way? So we cannot, this is a very important issue, because that's where people are making mistake. If I come to marry Lum here, and I had already a Mercedes car, and she promised me that after the marriage I'll get an helicopter, and then he got in love with you, and you hadn't even a bicycle. When we have all now tied to her, she gives you a bicycle and gives me a motorcycle, and I'm complaining about my motorcycle, and you're saying, but I have only a bicycle, because you have never even known what a motorcycle is, let alone a Mercedes car. So I can understand the others. We came already with certain achievements, and we're expecting something more. This is where the real problem is coming from. And so people should stop identifying or equating what is happening in Northwest and Southwest and group them and make them as if they were just any part of this country. If we are history I'm finishing, Moki. We have to go on to justice. Justice is you give me what I deserve. If you don't give me what I deserve, talk from morning to evening, you will not have achieved my problem. And lastly, our fidelity to our history. Fidelity to our history. I don't care who you are and what anybody is. We have an obligation to tell children in Cameroon, this is how we came to be where we are. Are we telling people that? Are we telling them the truth of what has happened to this country? Can we not tell the children where the real problem is? I made a suggestion when this crisis began. Get 5 historians, 5 from the Francophone side, 5 from the Anglophone side. Let them produce a history of Cameroon for us and tell us the truth.
Thank you. Now, let's take 1 more minute to go out of this topic. We'll have the second one, and we'll have barely 25 minutes to be together. Please.
Yes.
1 minute.
Can I say something?
I want you to conclude, because where I come from, when the FONS speaks, he has spoken.
Okay.
Priscilla.
Yes, I would like to step in from where Reverend Father ended. You know, the major national dialogue was actually something that was called for by almost every person. And we had 600 delegates who attended. But those who called the shots were never on the discussion tables. That is what he said. And I work more on social media, and I read people. You know, things they can't stand and tell you in the face, they'll go and write it there because they think that they're not being seen. But if you follow up the minds of the people on social media, you will understand that is where they pour out their minds. And if you follow the trends there was a group of persons who were left out, who maybe could have been the ones to help us dig the root cause of the problem. Because some problems were resolved. It's like trying to attack a tree. If you want to cut that tree completely so that it stops growing, go to the roots. Now, the tree was cut somewhere along the line, and the roots are still producing new branches on the stem, which means there is need for us to sit down and look exactly what is still causing this fire that is burning.
So you're asking for another second major national dialogue?
I don't know if it should be a major national dialogue or something else.
Richard, please, 1 minute, please, Richard.
Yes, Moki, I think for us to come out of this armed conflict, I will not hesitate to say that we should call another dialogue. And it should not involve somebody who doesn't know about the crisis or who doesn't know what is happening within the Northwest and the Southwest regions. It should not be a repeat of the major national dialogue that brought people from across the board who had nothing to do with the crisis, because like His Majesty said, the crisis started, or the major national dialogue came as a result of the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest regions. But those who came in to sit and talk about something they don't know were coming from elsewhere. They didn't come from the Northwest and Southwest. If you look at the percentage, because I don't see how somebody will come and start talking about the problem of maybe in the East, in the West, or in the North region, when it has nothing to do with the crisis in the Northwest region. Those other regions had their own problems. Were they waiting, or was the government waiting for this crisis in the Northwest and Southwest region to start before they will bring in people from other regions to sit, and then we start forming commissions here and there, which are commissions just meant to satisfy some group of people so they continue to chop while others continue to suffer?
Thank you. Royal Highness.
Well,
1 minute before you give his last, okay?
In 1993, there was AAC1 with a declaration. I took part in that, where Anglophones of all walks of life came out. And I saw the beginning. They reasoned like one person. And they sent a declaration to the head of state. And I'm so particularly happy that during the major national dialogue, Dr. Munzu, who was the secretary at the time there, was present. He was still on track with what started up there. Our president, before the world said, well, Cameroon is the way it is, they wanted to assimilate the people, but they are still resisting. I was so happy and thought that was the end of this crisis. We expected our president to come back and call the gong. Oh, my picking them, wanna come. I've been thinking we'll do now some fine thing for this country. But we don't say it's going to have a different side. How we go do? And you get everybody on board. That said, it is not still too late. It is not still too late. When we talk of a dialogue, it's pas un fait accompli. It's not that you come, sit, and then you go out and it's all ended. We have to continue. And I think this is the time. Because the killings are numerous. We don't care who dies, whether it's a military man or Anglophone. It is all blood. It is all a Cameroon, and that weakens the strength of our country. We have a lot to play in the sub-region. Everybody stands and look at us. I think it is high time, because the president talk of inertia. When we were growing up, we used to hear when it will happen in Cameroon. When it will happen in Cameroon. I think the Secret Service, they all know all of this. What were they waiting for? What were they waiting for? Let's sit up straight and call a spade a spade. Look at eyeball to eyeball and fix our country. Put all hands on deck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mbe. Reverend Father Henry Tatambui has been very much in the news because he's one of the reasons we're having our second topic. He seemingly has a problem with the way the FONDs in the Northwest and Southwest region are descending into political problems now. So, Reverend Father Henry Tatambui, Humphrey Tatambui, we are moving to our second topic now. You have been launching your books and you've written. What really motivated the book where you're saying the funds are not being respected as they were before?
Moki, three things come to mind very fast. The first is the fund, for those who know the anthropology or the setup geopolitics of the Northwest and Southwest, culture matters a lot, and it defines a people. The fund is not, as many people think, an individual. It is an institution. And the person who is in that institution has no right to change the institution, in spite of what he thinks as an individual. That's why the fund is never spoken of in terms of he, she. It is they. It's the majestic plural. Now, when the fund is present, it is the people. This is Guzang present here. It's not just the person sitting here who is Guzang. No. And because these people have a right to be seen as one, the FON is the center of justice, is the assembly of all the people, and he is seen as a clear sign, unquestionable sign of justice and fair play. That's why when you ever had a problem and ran to the palace, even if it is against the palace child, you were free. Now, when these issues began, when we started, the FONS were gradually being dragged into partisan politics. I underline my word, partisan politics. The FON is free to do politics like any Cameroonian. A human being is a political animal, and therefore you can't stop him from voting or from performing his right. That is clear. But when a FON declares or is made to declare for one party against the other, by that very fact, not only does he destroy himself as FON, he divides his own children, and he no longer has the right to be there as FON. The best thing is for him to disappear, because he is supposed to be the epitome of justice. And in fact, for the government, it would be very wonderful if the FONS remained neutral. Because in the Northwest, if you know what I'm talking about, and in the Western region especially, West and the Northwest, whenever the FONS spoke, everybody listened. So the government would have simply, with this armed conflict, gone to the FONS, if they were neutral, and asked them to help the government and to be candid, that this problem would have been resolved at the moment. But because some of the FONS have now switched to one side and against the other, the children see their FON no longer as representing what he was, so they can call him by name, they can lynch him, they can even kidnap him, they can do anything to him, because he's no longer answering to that institution. I think this is what caused me problems, and it was not meant to be non-partisan and does not go to whoever, wherever you belong as a political animal, but for all of us to see this is a cultural legacy.
Okay, we heard you, but I want the media man and woman here to wait. Let's hear from the phone. Why have you, if what he's saying is right, you as FONS decided to desecrate a tradition that the people gave you to manage for them? It's not all of you, the FONS. I know, I understand. I mind my language. It is the FONS have done that. That's why you see them, most of them.
Take that again.
Why have some of you, the FONS, decided to desecrate a tradition, the people's tradition?
When you say the FONS have desecrated a people's tradition, I will want to ask, the role of a FON is to sit above his people. That is why they will call the FON Mbadbeya. The fire that burns you, you still run to that fire. They take the FON as the mother hen that sits and cover all the eggs, waiting for it. And Chinua Achebe says, the FON, or in any great man's compound, there are people of all walks of life. And in the FONdom, the FON has people of all walks of life whom he is supposed to protect. From what Father said, I think politics has come in to play a negative role in this FONship. And as he rightly said, I am one of them who will say the FON, though he has his right to play his politics the way he wants, but he should not be partisan. Once you decide to choose that you belong to this party, I bet you things in your FONdom can never be the same again. It's the same thing like in your FONdom, amongst all your children, as they are moving by, you know who will become your successor. But if you go ahead and choose that this is going to be my successor, I'll tell you, you know what happens. L'Africa c'est mystère. That child, that your successor will not thrive.
Okay, let's listen to you guys. What was your observation when you saw this topic and when you read Father Humphrey Tatambui's book?
Unfortunately, I've not read Father's book, but I'm sure after I'll have a copy. I think, Moki, when I saw this topic, I think my memories went back before this crisis, because the FONS, our fathers, being described today as commoners, years back they were described as royal beggars. And for the simple reason, Moki, that, in the Northwest, let me talk about the Northwest where I come from. The FONS, they had the FONS, there was a FONS association, there was a FONS conference, and finally they had the FONS union, the Northwest FONS union, which things were moving on very well. The FONS were united, and it came at that time, to stop the intertribal conflict that used to be part and parcel of FONDOMs in the Northwest. And the subjects used to, pay allegiance. They know that on certain days of the week, they have to go to greet the FON and give things to the palace, because that is where the palace is like the center where everybody comes to unite. And until, some of these FONs started fighting with their subject for political post, things started to disintegrate. I remember Tumfo Barrister Nico Hale.
Yeah, I'm in line with
He
him.
did so well to bring the FONs together, and he encouraged them to avoid this type of partisan politics. And they started the Noefu project, a secretariat, which is in my phone. And today, what has become of that secretariat? It is now a shadow of itself. And because FONs now, they started fighting, when they get into politics, money was no longer coming in. And when the problem started, when money came in for that project, some people decided to pinch and put in their pockets. And asked, can we have an account of this? And when you were asked to give an account, you became a bad person. And since then, some politicians use that as a ploy to completely disintegrate the FON, making them to fight with their subjects over political post. And that is why some of them have today become royal beggars. They cannot even go back to their palaces in spite of this crisis. They talk now, nobody listens. We think our FONs are supposed to play a neutral role. They are not supposed to, become so partisan that they compete in political positions with their subjects. I know traditional rulers who have even walked on blood to go to attain political achievements.
One more.
We are coming to you. Let's listen to one person who has spoken on this topic. That is Priscilla.
Thank you very much, Moki.
5 minutes.
I thought you were going to sideline
me. No, we cannot do that.
Now, I want to take us down the history of Cameroon. I read Cameroon history. Before the colonialists came in, Cameroon is a constitution of powerful chiefdoms and fondoms, which means they were strong enough to run their own governments, and their people were subjects to them, and they would rule all powerfully, and they could organize and fight even against the colonialists. Now, down the lane, everything has happened. There are people who, because of the corrupt state of their minds, have decided to infiltrate these royal personalities and corrupted their spirits. And they have become most of them have become what they are today. I visited the palace of the king, the traditional ruler of Ouagadougou, Chief Mogonaba Bwango, who has been on the throne since 1983 and is a university professor and a writer. Now, there was a crisis in Burkina Faso in 2015 when the government of Blaise Compaoré was overthrown. Now, the people, the country was plunged into chaos. And they asked themselves, why should we be killing ourselves? That is the man who reunited Burkina Faso. And there's a BBC article that titles him the mediator king, which means he's the one who put that country back on rail. Imagine the strength that traditional rulers can have to bring peace in a situation if you have corrupted them. How can they stand to be those same neutral people to be able to resolve problems? Now, I will say that most of the FONs have become commoners because they have participated in things of commoners. They will go to the same bars like other commoners, share the same women like other commoners. They were royal personalities who had to stand different and do things differently. I didn't attack Mbe.
Please, the phone is called a lion. I don't want to see the lion angry. Please. The lion. The phone of Guza hit the table and said, "Look." Please, okay, before I come back to you, Priscilla Loom, let's have some reactions we've been having on social media. Elvis, okay, over to you.
Yes, Edwin, there have been quite a good number of reactions. We begin straight away with Prince Mutabeme Obisa Mudika, who says the national dialogue has a long way to go in terms of implementation, and what has been done so far, it considers them as peanut, and enormous work still has to be done in the implementation of the resolutions. While Solomon Ate Pemambo says he believes dialogue is a process and let the process continue. Su Blestia says greed and long throat has reduced some of our funds to mere beggars and almost in every sphere of society, and accepting partisan politics has been at the center stage of this thing, and funds should remain neutral. While Tata Napoleon says a major national dialogue always as called, it still has a long way to go, and there should be more inclusiveness in the discussions. While Paco Paxson says the crisis in the Northwest and South will cease if the approach is changed, and even there is a more frank dialogue with all parties involved. And he continues by saying that Tata Napoleon says that funds from royalty to commoners is why I should hold strongly to the fact that funds involvement in politics has played a central role in their fall. While Nga Leonard Ngala says if we think of the major national dialogue to stop the crisis, then there is a problem, and we need to help the government to find lasting solutions to the problem. And he continues by saying that if you want to solve a problem, talk to your enemy and not to your friends. And Mary Kilachin says, let there be talks with all parties and let the truth be told so that peace can return. Lambert Kevin says, I suggest a real dialogue should be made and all those in jail should be involved in the discussions. And Gang Vadex says we should copy from other countries that are importing ideas that bring development, and rather than leaving the youth lazy. And Quine Jacob says the special status should be better explained to him. And Mulu Simon says it's a pity the government is persistent with the wrong approach. Let the government declare a ceasefire and meet with the leaders of the crisis. And we conclude with Botu Tima, who says the PM is trying to do a wonderful job. Unfortunately for him, some top government officials and some officials in defense are in the opposite direction.
I want to thank you very much, Elvis.
Yeah, there are quite a good number of them, and we cannot read all today.
Yeah, but you can keep on following us on our Facebook page. Keep the comments coming, and I'm sure Teke will be trying to explain to people who are watching us now. Now, let us conclude, please. I'll give 45 seconds each, because if not, we'll not have time to conclude. Now, 45 seconds to conclude. Yes. What's the way forward?
Let me go by the genesis of the FONS coming together. It will play traditional diplomacy. Before the forming of the Northwest FONS Union and the Northwest FONS Conference, FONS used to meet as one-on-one with their peers. Today they come to this fondom, and when they are going to this fondom, all sons and daughters of the other fondom, they converge there in conviviality, they sit together, they talk and discuss and see how they can move the place forward. But because of position, trying to position themselves, whereas God has already given you a natural position, they got themselves, they were hoodwinked by politicians because they thought that they could bring them in to use some traditional instruments to make them gain favors. And that is why it was now as if you don't support this politician, he will give you a bad name. There was a lot of backstabbing, there was a lot of hypocrisy in all of this.
45 seconds.
Which is not taking us anywhere. Les chefferies pour les chefs, la politique aux politiciens.
Thank you, Messi. Richard?
I think, okay, it's not still late for our fathers, the FONS, to go back, especially those of them who have been loitering around the streets of Yaoundé, Douala, and other regions, to go back to the villages and actually tell the people, my children, please, if I made mistakes somewhere, I'm begging for your pardon, accept me, and let us sit and talk so that peace can return back in our village. If we continue to think that we will rival soldiers with commoners, then they will continue to be described as commoners. So I think our fathers, the FONS, should go back to the villages. Those of them who are in Yaoundé and Douala, they should go back to the villages and try to talk with their populations.
Priscilla.
Yes, if there's any proposal I will give is that the powers that these traditional rulers carry on the day they were enthroned, the day of their coronation, they still have them. Which means that they just need to come back to themselves and let these politicians allow them play the role they have to play in their communities. They can go back and make peace with their ancestors. And they will become the same people they used to be. Because they have been given powers on the day of coronation, and those powers are not taken away by anybody, except they want to throw them away. So they can play this role of what I cited the case of Ouagadougou, the traditional role of the Mosi people, who has played a very important role. Our traditional rulers still have that power to unite the people who want to go to the FONS dance, who want to go participate in traditional events in the villages. We are missing out on them.
I want to go for Gonza. Reverend.
I think I have 3 things just to say.
In 45 seconds.
Yes, the first thing is I am pleading in the words of Pope Francis that wrote to our head of state is to call a ceasefire. And a ceasefire is not surrender. A ceasefire means let's stop fighting before we can talk. You can't talk while there are weapons going on. The Pope said that, and he put it very clearly. The Secretary of State at the Vatican came here and said exactly the same. Let's call for a ceasefire and start reasoning normally. Secondly, in an armed conflict, a dialogue means listen to the aggrieved person, to the person who is hurt. If the person who is hurt is not being listened to, he will continue doing things which, sometimes when your mother doesn't listen to you, you shatter the window just to call for attention.
20 seconds.
And then, finally, to the FONS and the people of the Northwest and Southwest, I would say, our FONS, some went wrong somewhere. Let's accept something went wrong. But let us reconstruct this whole thing and find ways of their sustainability, how they should be sustained in their policies that we can do on our own, and let every FON now reconsecrate their land, and then we can start going forward.
Thank you, Reverend.
And lastly, in a chess game, you always protect your king.
Yeah.
And even in traditional circles, when there was war between this village and this village, they take the king go and keep him somewhere. When things normalize, they come back. Let us hurry up and we'll go back. It's in a chess game. The king is being protected.
Want to thank the Fon of Guzang, His Royal Highness Bayam Sik III. Want to thank Reverend Father Humphrey Tatambui, who is a clergy and an author. Want to thank Richard Lajong, who is journalist and publisher of the Herald Tribune, and Priscilla Loom, journalist working with CRTV. I am Moki Edwin Kinzeka in Yaoundé. Thank you for watching.
CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.